Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to this new series of The Struggle Within on Ahlulbayt TV with my guest Sayed Hassan Al-Sadr, and we are talking about cultivating our spirituality, and in this particular program we're looking at what our goals should be. What are the most important goals in our life? And we've just been talking about how the ultimate goal is, of course, to journey towards the divine, and in doing that we need to perfect ourselves. And I was just asking about how we do perfect ourselves if we are struggling with things. I mean, I've been reading quite a lot lately on people who have been emotionally, psychologically abused, had childhoods where they have had a narcissistic parent who has a narcissistic personality disorder, or they've grown up with a lot of abuse, and they struggle not to react, in an extreme way to certain things, and they're struggling to just become like a well-adjusted person who can have those kinds of beautiful responses to things that Islam encourages us to have. So how do people overcome their struggles?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to take a step backwards and start with rationality. And I'm sure in future episodes we will have more time to revisit such principles in details and to analyze them. But one must establish first whether the Creator exists or not, and then what are His attributes. And the beauty of this religion, Islam, is the Ahlulbayt, the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ, they all encourage us to revisit these main principles, the existence of the Creator, His attributes, before even we open the Quran. And then we find out that these rational conclusions are found in the Quran. One of the main rational conclusions about the Creator is that He can only be fair. Not what people like to describe, oh, God is fair. No. Rationality dictates, logic dictates that the Creator can only be fair rather than He's fair.
Okay.
Having established that, one can look at life with its different struggles, calamities that people have, and find the explanation for such calamities and the way to deal with them based on such a strong rational conclusion, which is 100% accurate, that He can only be fair. If He can only be fair, then there is no way that we accept the notion that people who have been victims, people who've had a troubled upbringing, people who are surrounded with a value system that did not have any goodness in it, will be automatically drawn to certain responses, certain decisions in life, because they have no control. Someone is now 22, they've lived so many years within such a horrible environment. Now they can't change. They must follow the previous 20 or 18 years of their life. They can't change. And since the Creator can only be fair, all such challenges can be overcome. Some, we accept, take longer, and in medicine we do practice psychological intervention, cognitive behavioral therapy. There are treatments for personality disorders, for psychiatric illnesses. So some challenges require certain experts to be involved to varying degrees. But in general, there is no such statement that people cannot change, because the Creator can only be fair. And there is no way the Creator would accept that that person would automatically commit evil or act inappropriately. Indeed, such a person who's found himself in such a horrible environment in their childhood, early adulthood, will be judged differently
Right.
To someone who was brought up in a more normal or a better environment. The Creator will never judge them the same.
Yeah.
He's fair, and part of his fairness, he can only be fair, and part of his fairness is to take into account their environment, take into account what we perceive as a very simple decision, just to smile back at someone or to trust someone. That would be a much harder decision for someone. So the rewards are different.
Right.
The rewards for someone who abstains from certain sins or commits certain charitable acts is different for a person who is a much harsher environment to do that. And hence the Quran clearly states that the people, talking about the particular society around the Prophet, people who became Muslims before the victory of Mecca, before the Prophet marched with Muslims into Mecca, the Fath, the great opening, the Quran clearly states that those who were Muslims before then, when times were harsh, are superior in terms of their faith. We're not talking about rights, we're talking about their status before the Creator, are superior to others. And each are rewarded because they're doing the right thing. But those who chose to do the right thing earlier on, when the circumstances were harsher, when they had to fight against peer pressure, the herd mentality, are far more superior. So for those people who are living in such circumstances, their reward is higher. They are judged and taken down differently. But we have to accept that they have the opportunity to change and develop and take their personal journey towards the Creator.
Inshallah. And yeah, so regarding this statement that the Creator is fair, it's quite interesting for me that I have met quite a few Muslims who, often actually the older generation, who have gone for many years not being able to figure out how and why is the Creator just or fair. And they sometimes, again, they've got some anger, if they see like the injustice that goes on in the world, even the injustice that was done to the Ahlulbayt, alayhim salam, and they are wondering how we can have a Creator who is only just and fair when it's a common question.
Took place.
So much suffering and despotism
Indeed.
Or illnesses. Good people get illnesses,
Absolutely.
and why did it have to happen to them, and how can that be?
Children are born with genetic disorders, then they are, they lead life with a struggle. Indeed. All such questions are acceptable, and inshallah, in a future discussion, there are 8 possibilities.
Okay.
There are 8 possible explanations that I invite the viewers to appreciate when they see any calamity, whether it's a tsunami, whether it's a child born with an inherited disease, whether it's a struggle for someone as holy as the Prophet or the Prophets or Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. There are 8 possibilities, 8 possible explanations for such calamity, for such struggle.
Okay.
However, none of the 8 contradicts the one certainty that the Creator can only be fair. And here is the beauty of Islam, that people who seek such knowledge and such answers early in life, we're not discouraging anyone to ask any questions, even if they are in their 6th decade or 7th decade. But the beauty of Islam is that it encourages people to visit these issues quite early in their lives, so people will have a better understanding earlier on. They'll be able to shape their personality in accordance with the haqq, in accordance with the truth, in accordance with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is what worshipping Him is, according to the definition. And it doesn't matter, even if you ask it later. And those who've studied this earlier on need always reminders. Hence, the rituals of Islam are there to keep us reminded, because we need the reminders. But if I may use this opportunity, since we've talked about God's justice, to share with the viewers an important outcome of this fairness of the Lord, is that the way He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way He would judge those who are practicing Islam in varying degrees, those who follow different schools of thought, those who follow different religions, those who don't follow religion. How would the Creator judge them all, over the last 7,000 or 10,000 years of human civilization? The answer that our scholars give is that He will judge every single person according to how much evidence he or she have seen.
Aha, okay.
I repeat,
Yeah.
the Creator, who can only be fair, will judge every single person, Muslim or non-Muslim, practicing, non-practicing, in accordance with how much he or she have seen of the evidence. The evidence that He exists, the evidence that Islam is the true religion, the evidence that Ahlulbayt are the right school of thought, the Imams towards the Creator. So, if you are living in a jungle with no access to the Quran, you have no idea who the Prophet, you have no idea who the Prophet of Islam is or was, you will be judged differently. How much evidence of the truth have you seen? How much your basic intellect have led you to understand about the world? That's in accordance with that. 3% of the truth, you will be judged against 3% of the truth. That's different from someone who's born into a practicing family in a part of the world where the divinely chosen principles are being practiced. You've seen 80% of the truth, you'll be judged based on 80%. And further, if we want to indulge further into this analysis, just because someone lives in a family, a practicing Muslim family, just because someone who's born a Muslim and he's surrounded by Muslims, or that he's not a Muslim and he's surrounded by Muslims, just because someone is in close proximity does not mean that that person has seen the truth.
Yeah.
We assume just because we're neighbors with others, that our kids and cousins and friends are close to us, they must have seen the truth. So we say, why don't you practice like me? On the day of judgment, you will be judged and you'll be paying for your sins. Actually, they may not have seen the truth. And the reason for that may be us.
Yeah.
Maybe us. Maybe it's us who've been, the barrier between them and seeing the truth. So on the day of judgment, two people, we don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would do. And it's not up to us to decide what to do, but it's worth knowing how fair He is. On the day of judgment, two people who have lived in the same city, each had different value systems, different religions, different schools of thought, may well be judged differently. Not because the truth is relative, I would like to stress here. I'm not saying the truth is relative, the truth is absolute. God exists, Islam is the right religion, school of Ahlulbayt, the Imams alayhi salam must be followed. That is the perfect path for humanity to ascend towards the Creator, towards perfection. However, if you have not seen the evidence for this, then you will be judged differently in accordance with how much have you seen. 5%, 10%, 80%.
I have read narrations, although some people don't, obviously then there's another discussion on authenticity of narrations, but I have read narrations that, again, people would say, if Allah is just and He's going to be maybe more lenient on someone who has had less access to the evidence, then why should I be on this path of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam? Surely if I just go by the little evidence that I have, then I will be judged more leniently. But I read a narration where I think it's Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam said that actually talking about Muslims who don't ascribe to the walaya of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, where he says that they will be judged according to their actions, right or wrong, whereas those who have the walaya of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam have that as a means of intercession. So I don't know if it's correct, but I was thinking, well, that's a bit like either representing yourself in court. So you go along with all your papers and your defense and everything, and you're going to go and represent yourself, or having a lawyer who is a barrister who's going to represent for you and present your case, in a more professional way. I don't know if that's the right kind of analogy.
I mean, the narrations that state the intercession of Ahlulbayt, of the prophets in general, of the Prophet of Islam, of the martyrs, of the righteous people, there are different people who would do intercession. The Quran would do intercession. Indeed, Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, the prophets, are all there, and we have no doubt that such intervention will be made, are all there to encourage us to think about the extent of the mercy of the Lord. However, clearly it states in the Quran and in the narrations of Ahlul Bayt that there are clear guidelines, conditions on who would deserve such intercession. You know more about Ahlul Bayt than you know more than 3%. Maybe you're hitting the 70-80%. These are all obviously arbitrary figures. But you know more, your test is harsher. And this should not discourage people from knowing more about Ahlul Bayt, because the more you know, the closer you are to the source of light. If you imagine a dark room and there's a candle, the center of illumination, light. The closer you are, the more you can see. The closer you are to the truth, the easier your struggle towards perfection is. Someone who's never heard about Ahlul Bayt, who has never heard about the Prophet of Islam, he is struggling quite harshly to reach perfection. Because he or she may not know the answers, the most basic answers about right and wrong. Again, the intercession of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam should not be taken as an excuse. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all encompassing to the extent that we have narrations that even Iblis, Satan, would be hopeful that it may encompass him. And that's why some of our scholars say the most hopeful individual is Satan, because he knows how much wrong he's done, yet when he sees the mercy of the Lord encompassing the forgiveness, so many people, that he thinks it will ascribe to him. Clearly it won't, because there's a difference between committing a personal sin, that it's between you and the Lord, and between committing a sin that it affects other people, thousands of other people. The Lord may forgive part of the sin that's between him and the individual, but the Creator is so just and fair, he can only be fair, that he will not forgive that sin between you and others who've suffered. It is up to the person, the victim, to forgive you or not. But the conclusion is, contrary to what unfortunately some Muslims preach on social media, that you either become a Muslim or you're on the hellfire, or maybe other followers of faith would do that. I've heard that some followers of different faiths, I can speak about Muslims, because I've heard them and I've seen them, that you can only be a Muslim or else you're on the hellfire. That's wrong. In fact, in the Quran, it clearly states, in the Quran, it never states that Muslims are going to heaven. Never ever. In the Quran, it states that Muslims are going to heaven. It states that those who believe and do righteous deeds, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, combination of faith, you believe and you do righteous deeds. This is the description of people who will go to heaven. Not an excuse for not searching for the truth, not an excuse for not searching for Islam and the path of Ahlul Bayt, but if you're a person who have exhausted every effort to reach the truth, but because your environment and the limitation within your environment, you could not see Islam, you could not see Ahlul Bayt, but you've exhausted every effort, then the description of those who believe and do good deeds may well ascribe to you, because you've exhausted every effort. And a Muslim, a follower of Ahlul Bayt, who was reckless and did not, make any effort to know more about this path, those descriptions will not apply to him or her.
Yeah.
Whether you are a Muslim, follow a particular sect, you're not amongst those. It's up to the Lord, but the Quran is very clear. And it's time we clarify this to the viewers and to the rest of the world, that this religion is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This religion teaches about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that His fairness and His mercy encompasses everyone without excuse for not searching for the truth.
Thank you very much, and that's a great opening introduction to this series. And we just have to wrap up for today, but inshallah in the next show we'll be continuing with our discussion. So thank you very much, and thanks to our viewers for watching. Again, this is a series, so do keep watching, and inshallah it will be loaded up online as well, so that you can catch up with any shows that you may have missed. So we will see you in episode 2, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.